So there's a real reason why I like to call the Acolyte the Hackolyte or The Last Jedi 2.0 is the fact that Leslye Headland, who by the way is the director and the showrunner of this thing, looked up to director and writer Rian Johnson of The Last Jedi and used that as an inspiration for the story of the Acolyte series, especially when it comes to some of the twists and the turns and the bold decision making that was actually implemented into this series. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, Kathleen Kennedy, we know that she is the one who hired Leslye Headland. She believed that she was the right fit for the Acolyte series, and that just goes to show you exactly the types of people that Lucasfilm hires. In this case, Leslye Headland, the former personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein, really just makes you shake your head, I know. But to this day, we know that Kathleen Kennedy has been pretty much endlessly defending the Acolyte series at all costs. No matter what kind of backlash, no matter what kind of level of fans are going against it, she will time and time again blame a specific margin of fans. That it's of course this or that, or this is the problem here and there, and never truly addresses the real problem, and that is, at the end of the day, an actual agenda coming out of Lucasfilm. Now, specifically, of course, coming out of all of this, we know that Kathleen Kennedy is beginning to really realize that she is losing the game when it comes to Lucasfilm, losing the game when it comes to what she's trying to do with Star Wars, because so many people are leaving Disney Plus Star Wars in droves, alright? Now, on top of everything here, with Kathleen Kennedy, of course, defending the Acolyte series at all costs, one major development now has much more to do with Kennedy and her recent response to the fandom, where she delivered the following. Well, you see, I think the bigger issue at large here that we are dealing with is in the Star Wars community and how that holds, of course, a sense of entitlement, as if the brand belongs to them, the fans, and not the creators, when in reality it's the reverse. I thought going into the Acolyte it was important for us to ignore the fans and to focus on the creators, especially with this series and everything that Leslye put into it. A part of this fandom tends to enjoy being very loud and opinionated, and I think it's imperative that they keep their inflammatory opinions to themselves and to just keep things quiet with the noise to allow the loyal fans to enjoy what's arriving on Disney Plus in just a short number of days. You know, I have been a producer for many decades, so I know how to deal with fandoms, but I have never seen anything like Star Wars fans. It can be very difficult to handle, but you just have to keep your focus on what you want to do and what you want to do in this world, especially within this industry. The fans that we have dealt with over the years have been troublesome. The ones that like to be very loud, we did careful research on that and came to the conclusion that they aren't part of the majority of our core audience, so we really hold no concern over the future of where we want to go at Lucasfilm. So guys, let me just say one thing about what Kathleen Kennedy is spewing before I move on, is that this is obviously all coming in the wake of what happened behind the scenes, as we discussed weeks ago, of how the Acolyte Season 2 was indeed axed/cancelled after the massive amount of backlash coming from fans, even too much for Bob Iger to handle, and that of course really seems to have struck a nerve for Kathleen Kennedy. Moving on. She goes on to continue, like Leslye and Mr. Iger have been addressing, I will say it myself, this series is not about any kind of a message to drive fans away. Any fan that attempts to create that narrative is irresponsible and an irresponsible act on the promotion of this series and how we are trying to reach passionate fans who are open to change in this industry. We are very happy to represent diversity, equity, and inclusion in this series. It was very important to me as a producer and one who was running Lucasfilm. I saw we needed improvement with that, but we also fully expected fans to claim that this is part of some kind of a narrative on our end. In reality, that is just not true at all, in the slightest. Many keep asking me about the Acolyte Season 2, and all I can say right now is I really don't want to go into that discussion right now. There have been many complications there, and that is something that I'm willing to answer another time in the coming weeks. But for those part of the Star Wars community to claim that Leslye created an agenda is completely false and misleading to our core audience, I can't stress this enough, but we ask everyone to let the product speak for itself. It's something that we are asking thoroughly right now to make everyone understand that we are fully passionate about this project, and we expect fantastic results for all of it in the end. I haven't seen a significant backlash as some claim, and I think that too is just coming from some form of a narrative for entertainment purposes to watch a project fail. So again, let me just stop here again before I move on about what Kathleen Kennedy is spewing with all this nonsense, by the way. She is saying that basically the fans raising their opinions, raising their overall, concerns about what's going on over at Lucasfilm and what's been going on within the Hollywood world, right? Within the film industry, that basically is a narrative. That's them creating a narrative. That's how Kathleen Kennedy sees it, and it's just pure, it's just purely ridiculous at this point, because you have someone like Kathleen Kennedy who sits there and says, there's no agenda here, but there is an agenda. I mean, she says there's no agenda, but then goes on to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and representing all of these different communities over, proper storytelling and proper character development. This is ideology over art at its finest. This is the living example of those like Kathleen Kennedy, Leslye Headland, and Bob Iger fully supporting that, and at the same exact time will never admit that's exactly what's going on. And that's the current status of Disney, that's the current status of Lucasfilm, and it's showing no sign of an improvement for the remainder of 2024 as we approach the second Star Wars show, Skeleton Crew, which they want to get that out, by the way, by December. Now, moving away from that, she goes on to conclude, which sadly, as Leslye pointed out earlier, is some kind of a trend that we have noticed happening in recent months. She is referring to fans getting very happy about franchises pretty much failing. And it's outright unfair and unprofessional, she says, from so many around the globe. We will, however, continue to focus on female-centric stories within Star Wars as we understand this is the way of the future for the franchise. So look, basically what she's saying right there is the Force is female. The Force is female at its finest. That's what she's saying. And I think it's just purely ridiculous. They've said this time and time again that basically they want to make up for all the years lost that females were not the center of attention in Star Wars. Look, I pointed this out in the last post. We've had people in there, we've had characters in there like Leia Organa, Padme Amidala, just to name a few. I mean, this is something that we have seen embedded in Star Wars. Ahsoka Tano, another example. I mean, I don't know where this is all coming from that females were never a focus in Star Wars. It's just a part of their narrative to make it seem like the quote-unquote toxic male demographic are really just out of whack and out of place. And in reality, there's a non-existent demographic. It's just fans, which, by the way, Star Wars fans mostly consist of males, let's be honest here, that have been raising their overall opinions on things because they are passionate about what they grew up with. That's what it boils down to. So overall, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.